In addition to media, documents, and related resources and contextual information, objects are a key component of building activities and resource kits in the Museums for Digital Learning platform. In general, objects are representative of museum collection items, whether these be individual items or groups of items. And objects are composed of two important elements: data about the collection items and digital media representative of the collection item. The digital media can be images, audio or video files, or documents like PDFs. Because media is such a key component of the object creation process, we suggest that you upload object-related media to your media library prior to starting the object creation process. When you're ready to build an object, make sure that you're logged into your museum profile and that you're currently viewing the Museums for Digital Learning Backstage interface. Select number 3, Objects, from the left-hand menu, and this will open up your object library in your main window. If you don't currently have any objects created, like I do not, you will be prompted to create a new object. Before you create a new object, in addition to having the media uploaded, it's also a good idea to have your object data on hand. I've actually pulled my object data into a separate tab in my browser. This is a report I created and exported out of my collection management system, which pulls just the key information about each object that I want to add to the platform. During this demonstration, I am going to add an object record for this masquerade garment. And I'll just be copying and pasting this data pulled from my collection management system into the Museums for Digital Learning platform. So since I'm ready, I have all my media uploaded. You can see here on the side my media library. I have my data on hand. I'm going to select Create an Object. The first screen that you see when you decide to start creating an object is this Choose an Object Typed prompt. One thing to note is that each of these different object types has a tooltip if you hover over the name that will help you decide which is the most accurate object type for whatever object you're trying to build in the platform. In my case, I'm creating the garment record, and so this is just a general artifact for a man-made object. So artifact is the closest object type for my item. Click OK. And the next screen is where you will combine the data that you have about your object and any media that you want to associate specifically with that artifact or specimen. Since I have other media in my library that is not what I want, I'm going to do a search just for the images that I need. And I know that the file name for these media all have 1989 PS. So these are all the images that I have of this object, and I'm just going to simply drag and drop them in the order that I want them. And they're in a very specific file name order: VO1, VO2, VO3, VO4, and then we have 2 detailed zoomed in images, detail 1 and detail 2. If I were to accidentally drag and drop a media that does not need to be attached to this object, I can delete. It will not delete the media from my library, just from being attached to this object record. And I can also reorder the media if I have a need to by dragging and dropping in this list. This is the order that the media will appear. You should also be aware that whatever is at the top of your attached media list will be recognized as the primary media for this object. So that will be used in thumbnails and cards and in search results for this object. So the next step is to just work my way through the available fields, filling out those that are required, which are pretty minimal in the platform. We have title and description are required. And for man-made objects, we do also require a right statement, which is further down. And I'm just going to, like I said, I have this information all in screen next to my current screen. I'm just going to copy paste each of the fields. Similar to the first screen that I showed you, there are tooltips throughout this interface. You just have to hover over this little question mark icon and you'll get a description about what exactly do we mean by an identifier. So in this case, this is comparable to, an identifier is comparable to what we call an accession number in our institution. Let's see, the collection that this item is part of, African art, date created, We do have a couple of instances of specific formatted fields versus free text. So date created is a free text field, which the tooltip indicates. But so that we can support structured formatting of dates, we also have this date created structured field. And I'm just going to go in this case with the last possible year of creation. Since my date created is somewhere between 1930 and 1970, I'll just go with 1970 as the last possible date of creation. I do not have geographic coordinates. If you do have those available for your item, they will help with a very interesting map-based search that's to come on the platform soon. I do know a general place of creation or discovery, which is Nigeria. Put that in the country as well, since I have that formatted information. This is again the free text field for place of creation, where you can write whatever information you need. And if you do have any specifically structured information, you can break it up by continent, district, city, state, and so forth. Credit line. We have a statement of provenance. And again, notice that most of these fields are not required. Count, this is just one item. No language available. Dimensions, I have a simple dimension statement of the length being 56 inches. Creator, we do not have an individual creator. In this case, there's a cultural attribution for this object. Materials are cotton and wool. And that required rights statement that I mentioned. In the case of this item, our rights statement is no known rights holder. All right, I think that is all the information I have. The last thing to note is that we do have a tag section, which this is a great place to just call out any key pieces of information that you want to make sure are keyword searchable for any users of the MDL platform. So I'm going to pull out some of the materials. Oh, there's one tag. Make sure you hit enter once you type in the first tag. So let's do cotton and wool, garment, and let's add Nigeria here in a tag too. Just like added discoverability. Right. And now that I have gone through all of the fields, I can click done. And now I see this object in my object creation interface. If at any time you do want to delete your object, you have the option by hovering over and selecting delete. I'm not going to, since I don't want to delete this object. And that is the completion of the object creation interface. If you are a museum that doesn't have traditional collection items that you manage, or you have collection items that are on loan, you can use this interface to create objects that are meaningful for your museums for digital learning resources, as long as they meet the requirements that they have these basic elements of data that fits the data model for the museums for digital learning objects, or digital media as well.